witch.
This is the gathering of the witch burners. Hey, I'm not talking about harming anybody physically. I'm talking about doing spiritual warfare and stuff. That's what we talk about on this show from time to time, actually quite often. Hey, I got a stack of books over here to my left, and I've got some notes to my right and a bottle of water. So I don't know what we're going to get into tonight exactly. I mean, we got a plan, but hey, I want to hear from you guys, your thoughts. You've seen the thumbnail in the comments, in the chat. What do you know? Okay, I'm going to mention some things tonight, and I don't think this is so much history as we want to know what's going on right now. Okay. So my name is Tom Dunn. This is Through the Black. Yes, you might notice that my friend Vicky is not here. Well, sometimes that happens, and Vicky is quite a busy gal, writing books and just doing her own press media constantly. Man, this girl works hard. So she can't be here all the time, and you're going to notice her absent probably more often than not, but that's okay. Hey, we are just going to take her when we can get her, and we have some shows coming up. Matter of fact, next week, I believe it's the 9th, we're going to get back into some shows for a few weeks, and hey, I guess it's starting this week, right? Greg Reed is going to be with us next week. So, hey, tell everybody, tell your neighbors, tell your friends and your enemies. Greg Reed is going to be on Through the Black with Tom Dunn. And that's going to be next Tuesday. So anyway, guys, just the regular announcements. Throughtheblack.com is the website. And you can go to that website and find all of our stuff. You can find our T-shirts. You can find our resources. You can find links to Russ Dizdar's page and Russ Dizdar's free courses, okay? We talk about this all the time. Yeah, right across the top there. And folks, these courses are really invaluable. Russ used to sell these courses for like $75, $125. That's how he made his money when he first started going out on his own, when he left pastoring. But then when he was able to, he put them all out there for free. And I am telling you what, these courses are just invaluable. They really are. You can't put a price on them. They're life-changing. They have just turned my life around in a big, big way. So, and speaking of resources, you guys have heard me talking about this book, The Kneeling Christian. I think I got a copy in the stack here somewhere. So yeah, and there's all of our resources. You can check all those things out. And those are not, we haven't read every single one of those books, but those books are connected to research that we do. Okay. And yeah, there's The Kneeling Christian. I have a copy right here. And people are saying, hey, I've read this book and it's turning my life upside down. Praise God. That's great. I'll tell you what. You know what I want to do? I want to give out at least one of these books a month in the year 2024. And I'm going to make every effort to do that. Is there anybody else that can do that? Is there anybody else that can kind of go above and beyond and say, you know what? I'm going to do the same thing. And maybe for you, it's not this book, but this is a good book. This is really a good book. What if we could give out one of these books a month, okay, to somebody that's really going to read this book, and it's going to really inspire them? So, hey, just an idea. This is a small way where we can just really encourage people. And I'm getting great feedback from people that are reading this book. My mom read this book, and she really liked it, really inspired her. So anyway, yes, The Kneeling Christian is one of the books that we are recommending. And I have some more books I'm going to talk about tonight. for the show. But anyway, throughtheblack.com, no more dead babies.com is the new website. And folks, this is going to be our campaign here for quite a while. Okay. We're asking people, hey, come to the website and get a free t-shirt. Okay. The t-shirts are free. All you got to do is pay for shipping. And we don't want you just to order a shirt, okay, and throw it in your closet. We want you to wear the shirt. We want you to pray. And we want you to pray, God, use me to save babies, and pray for boldness. You know, Paul prayed for boldness. Who was more bold than Paul? Okay. And he said, pray for me that I might be bold. Okay. So there's nothing wrong with praying for boldness. No more deadbabies.com. By the way, the t-shirts, I think people are like thinking they should have their shirt by now. No, the shirts are not even here, but we did order them and they are on their way. Okay. So we're going to be fulfilling all of the orders that were already placed, and then the orders that have not been placed yet. Okay. And we have a certain amount, and when we get that to that certain amount, if we run out of sizes, we run out of sizes, but then we'll have to reorder again at some time. So if anybody wants to donate to that, if anybody wants to support that, if you have a podcast or something that you want to be involved in the sponsorship of that, you will have noticed that if you go to that website, there are sponsors at the bottom, like Coach Dave, like Prometheus Lens, like the Dig Biblecast, okay, Justin Brown there, and Harvest Revival Center, Pastor Mike Spalding, okay, Shake and Wake Radio, okay, all these guys are helping us, all right. So anyway, when you get that, when you get those, your shirt, you also get some stickers. These are the stickers. And folks, we've got some signs and we're getting them distributed. So I don't know if you can see this sign over here. Let me hold it up actually for you. So this is a yard sign, okay? No more dead babies. Fun times. Who wants to put one of those in their yard? Probably not a lot of people, okay? Because that takes it up about 5 levels, all right? I mean, it's one thing to put a campaign sign in your yard and say, hey, I'm voting for this dude or I'm voting for that dude. But what about putting a sign in your yard that just cuts right to it? That just cuts right to it and lets your neighbors know exactly where you stand when it comes to abortion. Okay. It's our style. It's through the black style. Okay. And that's why we're doing it. This is not for everybody. And you know what I'm finding out? I don't even know that a lot of people in the pro-life movement are ready for this campaign. That's okay. They're doing a great job saving babies. Okay. They are saving a lot of babies. And let's just let them continue to do that. And then let's do our thing. Okay. Because what we're doing is multifaceted, it's very complex. And we want to save as many babies as possible. We want to rescue kids. We want to bring awareness to trafficking. We want to bring awareness to satanic ritual abuse. We do all of those things, guys. And folks, we basically have no shame anymore in saying, hey, if you want to support us, we're going to save babies. We're going to bring exposure. We're going to talk about this stuff. And it's for anybody that does ministry, for anybody that's been on a mission trip, that's the least fun thing to do is say, hey, will you support me? But Christians actually, you know, if you're not going on the mission and you can throw in a few dollars to send somebody to whatever country they're going to, that's actually what we should do. Okay. The Satanists are making millions, okay, in the name of killing babies. So we're going to do more with less, okay? And we have a history actually of doing that. And there's a lot of things we want to do here. We want to do more film. I want to do all kinds of media and use it for evangelism, use it to rescue babies, use it to bring awareness, use it in training and spiritual warfare, and so many things. So anyway, guys, when you see one of the shorts pop up on the channel, thank you for sharing those. We try to make those things very shareable so you can put them out there. But I'm kind of blabbing about all these things, and I want to get into some of the stuff. So I mentioned Greg Reed being on next week. Also, if anybody is in the Mansfield, Ohio area, you want to come out and see me speak, I'm going to be at the Freedom Ridge Church next Sunday morning at 10:30 a.m. And it's a church I used to go to. They invited me back to speak there, so looking forward to that. If you live in Mansfield and you want to come out, come on out. I look forward to seeing you. And hey, I love the support, so appreciate it, guys. Last night, I don't know what you were doing on the last day of the year, but my wife and I were watching a movie. Okay, and this movie creeped me out. It creeped me out. It actually made me nauseous. I'm watching this movie and I can't believe what I'm seeing. We're going to get to all that here in a little bit. Okay, I'm going to tell you about the movie, but I want to give some background first. And we're going to talk about twin studies, Nazi twin studies. Why were the Nazis so obsessed with twins? And why did they want to use them for medical study, for experiments and things like this? Okay. It's a thing that we're we're aware of. We're aware of that the Nazis wanted to make super soldiers and a super race and all of these things. Okay. They were very into studying genetics and manipulating genetics. Okay. They wanted to do all these things. I don't know for sure. At least on my block, I have the biggest collection of Nazi books. And I'm not bragging about that. That did come up over a dinner with family last week, and dude, if my family does not think I'm crazy, I guarantee they think I'm crazy now. I just made a simple comment, just a friendly conversation starter. And before I knew it, I was talking about Nazis and giants, and I just was vomiting out all of this stuff. And I'm like, what just happened, Tom? What did you just do? What did you just do? Anyway, yeah, probably why you're watching this channel, because you can relate. Yeah, seriously. Okay, so let's check this out. This is an article from the History Channel. Now, keep in mind, yes, I'm aware that the History Channel is not the most reliable source of information. Okay, but we can kind of weigh this out and take a look at this and use discernment and say that this information, from what we know, weighed up against other things that we know, is accurate. Okay. History Channel also has a series called Ancient Aliens, based on the seeding of the planet by aliens, right? And they teach it like it's the gospel truth. So anyway, I know that. I'm just throwing that out there. Okay, we're on the same page. And if we were all in a room right now, sitting around a fire, that will be part of the conversation. Okay, so let's take a look at this History Channel article about why the Nazis were obsessed with twins. And so, by the way, I found a lot of articles on this subject. I kind of did a crash course and realized that in the last couple hours, like, okay, I am not ready to do this show. I had an idea to do a show, and I'm in way over my head, but we're going to do the best that we can. And I really want to hear from you guys to see what you think, to see what information you have, to see what kind of links you have, or just point us to something that maybe we don't know about. And I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff tonight. So check this out: why the Nazis were obsessed with twins, Horrifying medical experiments on twins help Nazis justify the Holocaust. And can you magnify that a little bit for me, Katie? Yes, that helps me. Twins, 10-year-old Eva Morez clung to her mother amidst the chaos of the selection platform at Auschwitz-Birkenau. I've been there with Russ Dizdar, by the way. Before arriving at the death camp, she had been stuffed into a train car on a seemingly endless journey from Hungary. Now, she and her twin sister Miriam, pressed close as Nazi guards shouted orders in German. Suddenly, an SS guard stopped in front of the identical girls. Um, are they twins? He asked the mother. Is that good? She replied. He nodded, and Eva Mosel's life changed forever. The SS guard grabbed her and Miriam, whisking them away from their mother, and as they screamed and called her name, they never saw her again. Okay, this is the testimony of what happened. And twins were picked out to live longer. When you got off the train at Auschwitz, you pretty much, if you were a woman or a child, you went straight to the furnace. You went straight to the poison chamber. The Zyklon B. They dropped these tablets. I went to the place, so they would tell everybody they were getting a shower, and they would have them take all their clothes off, so it was easier to dispose of them. And they would pack them into these showers and then drop these tablets into the top. And go ahead and keep this up as I'm talking, Katie. They would drop these tablets into the room from the roof, okay? And the gas would choke these people, and it would cause them to contort in a way, and they would stiffen up. And they called that the Spandau Ballet, believe it or not, which is kind of crazy. And the people were just like twisting their hands, and it was causing them, probably because they were dying in pain. And the Zyklon B tablets and gases were choking them out, right? The chemicals that were being released. So anyway, but if you were a twin, you could live longer, okay, according to this article. Eva and Miriam had just become subjects of a massive, inhumane medical experimentation program at Auschwitz-Birkenau, a program aimed solely at thousands of twins, many of them children. Led by physician Joseph Mengele, the program turned twins like Eva and Miriam into unwilling medical subjects in experiments that exposed about 3,000 children at Auschwitz-Birkenau to disease, disfigurement, and torture under the guise of medical research into illness, human endurance, and more. Twins were separated from the other prisoners during the massive selections that took place at the camp's massive train platform and whisked off to a laboratory to be examined. Mengele usually used one twin as a control and subjected the other to everything from blood transfusions to forced insemination, rape, injections with diseases, amputations, and murder. Those that died were dissected and studied. Their surviving twins were killed and subjected to the same scrutiny. And here we go. Twin studies had helped scientists like Mengele justify what they saw as necessary discrimination against people with undesirable genetic characteristics: Jews, Roma people, LGBTQ people. So, okay, I'm going to stop it right there real quick. Obviously, that wasn't even a thing back then. What I mean by that is that wasn't a term, all right? They were called homosexuals, all right? I remember being at Auschwitz and seeing the pink triangles, okay? And homosexuals were definitely singled out and killed, all right, by the Nazis. So I'm not going to get into the irony of that right now, but there is a lot, okay? The short the short Reader's Digest version is many homosexuals are embracing, fascism. Okay. So anyway, LGBTQ people, people with disabilities, and others. But the twin experiments that had helped create the eugenics movement would ironically lead to the downfall of eugenics itself. Okay. And that's a whole, we got to do a show about eugenics. For eugenicists like Mengele, identical twins like the Moses sisters were the perfect research subjects since they share a genome. Scientists reason any physical or behavioral differences in twins would be to behavior, not genetics. Eugenicists held genetics responsible for undesirable characteristics and social conditions like criminality and poverty. They believed that selective breeding could be used to encourage socially acceptable behavior and wipe out undesirable tendencies. Okay. Same thing basically that Margaret Sanger wanted to do with abortion was wipe out the undesirables by killing the babies from and sterilizing the minorities, right? By the time the twin research began at Auschwitz Birkenau in the 1940s, the use of twins in science experimentation was decades old, though prior twin experiments had produced growing evidence that environment was not important as genetics eugenics researchers clung to the idea that they could unlock new insights into nature and nurture through studying them. One of them, Otmar von Verschuer, had significant power and influence in Nazi Germany. He authored texts that influenced Nazi policies toward Jews, Roma people, and others, arguing that race had a biological basis and that inferior people could taint the Aryan race. An advocate for forced sterilization and selective breeding, von Verschuer collected genetic information on large number of twins, studying the statistics in an attempt to determine whether everything from disease to criminal behavior could be inherited. And he had a protege, a young physician named Joseph Mengele. Okay, we're going to come back to this article in a moment. Okay. So here we have these mad, wicked scientists that are in the perfect situation. They have human beings that they don't even consider human beings. They consider them less than human, that they can do these experiments on. And with basically no conscience, they don't even feel bad about it because these people are not even human. They're Jews, they're poor people, they're homosexuals, okay? Um, uh, they're disabled, okay? They're mentally disabled, they're physically disabled. So this is what's going on. I mean, we obviously know about the Holocaust and the murder. And again, like I mentioned, I went there with Russ. I guess it's been 10 years ago now. And wow, what a place! What a place to go! I got a lot of pictures from that place. I should do a show and just tell the story of that day sometime, um, and show the pictures. But it was real, folks. It was real. People try to say it's not true. They didn't kill the Jews. They didn't kill 6 million. I don't know how many they killed. What does it matter? They killed them, and they had the final solution, and they were exterminating people that they didn't like. Right? Keep tapping on the table. I'm not supposed to do that. It's happening. Obviously, still today. We're seeing that through abortion in the United States. We're seeing races. We're seeing social economic groups targeted by abortion. Okay. And who are the main advocates to kill people in the American Holocaust? Most of them from the LGBTQ community. Wow. Okay. So this was a thing that was going on. Let's go back to the article. And I'm going to ask Katie to scroll down a little bit for me here. What to start right there. Mengele wanted to continue the twin experiments he had begun with von Verscher, and now he had a captive populace on which to do so. Though his earlier experiments had been legitimate, his work in Auschwitz-Birkenau was not. Abandoning medical ethics and research protocols, Mengele began conducting horrific experiments on up to 1,500 sets of twins, many of them children. The Mengele twins received nominal protection from some of the ravages of life at Auschwitz-Birkenau. Wow. So they were tortured in experiments, but they didn't have to go through the gas chamber. They were not selected for the gas chamber, lived in separate quarters, and were given additional food and medical care in exchange. Though they became the unwilling subjects of inhumane experiments at the hands of Mengele, who gained a reputation as an angel of death for his power, his mercurial temper, and his cruelty. For Eva, life as Mengele's twin meant sitting naked for hours and having her body repeatedly measured and compared to Miriam's. She withstood injections of unknown substance and caused severe reaction that caused severe reactions. As twins, I knew that they were unique because we were never permitted to interact with anybody in other parts of the camp, she later recalled. But I didn't know I was being used in genetic experiments. Eugenics itself was rooted in twin research. By the way, and like I said, we need to do a show about this. Genetics was a thing in America. They used to have genetics exhibits at fairs, at county fairs, at state fairs. Eugenics itself was rooted in twin research. Francis Galton, a British scientist who coined the term eugenics in 1883, had used twin studies in his earliest eugenic research, deeply influenced by his half-cousin Charles Darwin, book The Origin of Species. That's the short name. That's the short version of the name. Galton became intrigued by how and whether humans passed along traits like intelligence and preoccupation with the potential of breeding desirable genetic traits into humans. Okay, here we go. For Galton, the other eugenics researchers, twins, held the key to understanding which characteristics were genetic and which ones were environmental. Folks, I don't want to sit there and bore you like reading this whole article. We'll put the link in the show notes, but I do want to skip down to where the article the paragraph starts with 300. I think it says 300 something. Maybe not. Is that the end? Okay, here we go. Over 200 to 3,000 twins subjected to medical experiments at Auschwitz survived. Only 200 of the 3,000 twins survived. Among them were Eva and Miriam. In the 1970s, Eva Moraz Core began lecturing about her experiences and seeking out other survivors. Eventually, she and Miriam formed a nonprofit called Children of Auschwitz Nazi Deadly Lab Experiments Survivals, okay, which is, I guess, candles is the acronym. Okay, and tracked down more than 100 other twin survivors, documenting their experiences and the health ramifications of the often unknown experiments they had been subjected to at Auschwitz. Most records of experimentation at Auschwitz were destroyed, but the lives of people like Eva Moraz Core, who died in July 2019 at age 85, bear witness to the twin experimentation brutality. Okay, and I think that's enough. Folks, we'll put that link to that article in the show notes if you want to read the whole thing. How horrific everything that took place there with the satanic Nazi agenda. Complete wickedness. Okay, and you would think that we would want to stay as far away from any of those practices as we possibly could. Okay, but no, that's not true. That's not true. So let me pick up there. Okay, this is the this is the movie that my wife and I watched last night. It's called Three Identical Strangers. Now, this movie has been on my radar for quite a few years. Okay, but I just never watched it. And I was actually at the library a few days ago, and I saw this, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna get this movie, and we're gonna try and watch it. And we were trying to figure out something to do last night, and I said, hey, I got that movie. Do you want to watch it? And we did. Wow, wow. So let me tell you the story of this movie. I I was originally gonna make this movie for the Through the Black staff and volunteers and tell them, guys, you need to watch this movie. Okay. And then I decided, you know what? I'm going to make this video and I'm going to tell everybody, guys, you need to watch this movie. Okay. So, Three Identical Strangers. Okay. Now, right at the beginning of the movie, you see that it's made by Channel 4 from London. Okay. Which is like in the UK, you have two options for media. One is Channel 4, the other is the BBC. Okay. And probably neither one of them are, you know, very trustworthy. But again, the information in this documentary, I think we have good information here. Okay, everything seems to be very well documented. Now, here's another thing. Right at the beginning of the movie, I thought, you know what? I'm not even going to watch this because it's basically distributed by CNN. Don't let that stop you from watching this movie. Okay. Now, there's a lot of hypocrisy there, and I'm going to try to remember to talk about that. Okay. But CNN had a part in making this film. It doesn't make it not true. Okay. Um, the story is one of these triplets, and if you can see the picture there on the back, there were triplets, three identical strangers, showed up at college, and people kept saying, hey, I think they were calling him Ed, or hey, Dave, what are you doing back? I thought you weren't coming back this year. Welcome back, man. And he's like, hey, that's not my name. And they're like, what? That's not your name. What are you talking about? And it turns out that his twin had went to that college the year before, and they were like, dude, you've got to be his twin. What is your birth date? And they found out that they had the exact same birth date, and they were both adopted. So they met up and they were like, wow, separated at birth. This is my twin brother. And the news hit the newspapers, right? There was a story, and there was a picture in the newspaper. And this other dude is like looking at the newspaper, and he was like, hey, those guys look exactly like me. So he called them up, and all three of them met up, and they were triplets separated at birth. Wow. It was a crazy story. And they became kind of like rock stars. They were going on all of the shows. They were going on Phil Donahue. They were going on all the news shows and telling their story, and everybody, they were dressing alike, and they were going to parties, and they were really heavy partiers. And then they started a restaurant, and it was called Triplets, and it was in New York City. So the parents, meanwhile, are like, how did this happen? How did we not know that there were two other brothers? What is going on? So they went back to the adoption agency in New York City and said, what is going on? What is going on? Why did you do this? And they gave him some bullcrap answer. They said the reason we did this is because nobody wants to take triplets. So we thought it'd be best to split them up. And they weren't really satisfied with the answer. And they thought, man, one of the fathers said, I would have taken all three of these boys. Would have taken them all. Long story short is there was a scientist that was doing experiments on twins at this adoption agency in New York City. And they were splitting twins up, and they were monitoring them to see if when they put them in different social economical situations and different types of families, lower, middle class, upper, class families, to see if they turned out any different. They were lab rats. So they found out that there are, I'm going to get this number wrong. I don't know, maybe close to 10 sets of twins, more or less, that they had done this to. And they were using these kids, no care at all where they come from or where they were going. It was all about experimenting on them. And the adoption agency talked to parents and said, hey, this is just normal routine follow-up. And they would send somebody in every year to videotape the kids. They didn't have videotape back then, but probably use a Super 8. And film the kids and interview the kids and test the kids and to see if there was any difference in the kids. One of the ladies they tracked down and found her in California, and she had no conscience about what she did. Interestingly enough, she had a German accent. She might have been, one of these people was from Austria, and I don't know if it was the actual doctor or if it was that lady. They found another guy up in Michigan somewhere who was part of the study for like 11 months, and they got a hold of his notes. Folks, here is a story that we know about. What about the ones that we don't know about? What about the ones that got away with it? How many more are out there? I don't know, but I don't believe that this is the only story. Now, folks, again, I'm going to highly recommend this movie, Three Identical Strangers, okay? I think you're going to be blown away by this. And even though I basically told the whole story, there's a lot more detail that I can't remember and I can't tell it all. So you can, it might even be free on YouTube to watch with commercials. So yeah, anyway, this is the story that we know about. Another one of the details was was an adoption agency that only adopted kids to Jewish families. Okay. Interestingly enough, every one of the brothers had an older sister that was adopted. So that's how they monitored the family to find out if they wanted to put the triplets into the family. When that happened, they had somebody lined up and already picked out that they wanted to give these kids to. So there's some, I think, in my opinion, mostly sad moments at the end of this story here. How, in my opinion, how hypocritical for a news organization, if that's what you want to call them, like CNN, to expose a conspiracy like this and say conspiracies are not real. Okay, and anybody who believes in them are crazy conspiracy theorists. This stuff doesn't happen, right? So, but this was safe for CNN to report on because it's in the past, okay? And the one lady in there that was so proud. And guys, if you watch this movie, you'll notice even the production and the music, it began to become uplifting at a moment where they're trying to make it look like these experiments on these three boys was a good thing. It was a good thing. I was so sickened by that point in the movie. I was like, they're trying to manipulate our emotions with the music to make it look like it's a good thing. So I forgot what I was going to say. What happened to these guys is just really, really sad. I highly recommend this movie. This is the one that we know about. Okay. So Through the Black gets many emails, and we make connections, we make friends, and we hear from survivors. And I can't give a lot of details, but I personally know of somebody that I've been working with for over 5 years that was bred. This person's parents were put together in New York City, okay? And the parents were selected because of their ethnicity, okay? And the they w- they were basically like handled, okay, and kind of forced to meet. I don't want to say forced, but heavily influenced to meet and to marry. Okay, the couple got married, then they moved to a military base. I forget the name of the base. It's Arkansas or Missouri. It's one that I know. And the mother is on birth control, but she's getting her birth control off base. Military finds out and say, "Why are you doing that? Just take our birth control on base." And she said, "No, I don't want to do that." And they finally talked her into it. And then she became pregnant. And that baby was a target for ritual abuse, for MK Ultra, for all kinds of crazy things, stalked all their life, okay? Tests, all kinds of crazy things. So, not sure if that's the one or not. So, and that might be connected to Leonard Wood might be connected to Mary Lake, right? I don't know. But it was a military base out there in the Midwest. So that baby that was bred, okay, for their genes and because of who the parents were, they picked out parents, okay, and I'm sure this was a military thing where they set up this mixer in New York for these people of a certain race, okay, of people. And let me just, if you've seen West Side Story, you know who I'm talking about. I'm not going to say it out loud. But anyway, and they were selected and put together so they could breed these children and control these children. I know this person personally, okay? And I have been working with, praying with, and ministering to this person for going on probably 7 years now, okay? And this person, I can almost finish their sentences. They came to me and they didn't even believe their own story, and they began to tell me things, and I think it was one of the most credible stories that I've ever heard, okay? I wish I could, give more details, but I can't because this is a live case and we wanna protect the person, okay, um, that is involved. The person is still being stalked by handlers, and the controllers are still trying to come after the person. Man, one of these days, maybe we'll get this whole story out because it is just mind blowing. Okay. So, a very similar situation, okay, as what's happened here. Here, the Nazi experiments have continued, right? Maybe not torture, maybe not dissection, maybe not injecting them with diseases, but we know about Tuskegee. We know about the syphilis experiments, right? Who is it? Who was funding this? Who was funding this? Charities from Washington, D.C. That's what was said in the film. It could have been the Pentagon. It could have been any of the alphabet groups. Who was funding this, right? The person that I told you about, that I can't give a lot of detail about, same thing. Same thing. Okay. Those are the ones that we know about. Those are the ones that we know about. So let me pull out one of my books here. I never heard of this book before until it's been almost 2 years ago now. The Control of Candy Jones. I think we talked about this book in the past. I don't have time to go into it, but it's the story about mind control of a person named Candy Jones, not her real name, but that was kind of her stage name. And they used her as a courier. Okay. She was based in New York. So as we're talking about these things, have you heard about this? Do you know of this? Maybe not New York, but somewhere. We hear this. What did the Batman shooter say? He said, my psychiatrist mind controlled me to do this. Right? So, twin experiments, MK Ultra experiments, in my opinion, they're not far removed from each other. Okay? They're inhumane medical experiments on human beings. But these elite, careful, Tom, you're going to say something you regret. These elite, arrogant SOBs think that they are better than everyone else. They think they're smarter, they're better, maybe they are smarter, and that they have the right to do anything they want to do to us. That's why they don't have a problem with doing ritual abuse. That's why they don't have problems with raping children. Okay. I mean, breaking just today. Well, really, in the last week, of course, Bill Clinton is named as one of the John Does in the Epstein files. Okay, we already knew that. That's not breaking for us. We already knew that. So, what do we do about this? All these guys got to do is snap their finger, they can kill you or I. Well, doesn't mean that we shouldn't expose it, right? Doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about it. So, you guys have heard us talk about this book recently. Michelle remembers trying to decide if I'm going to read this book or not. I think I might read this book this year. So, recently a movie was made about how this book is not true. It's called Satan Wants You. Vicky and I talked about it a couple weeks ago. Okay. How many do we not know about? Here's documentation of what happened. Why do they want to discredit a book that was made, 40 years ago? Why? Why? Are they going to make a movie to discredit this book? I wonder. Can they make a movie to discredit all of the testimonies that we know about? I don't think twin studies, as wicked as these were, they were not like what happened by the Nazis, but they were wicked and they were inhumane and they were evil. And the people that did this in this movie were sick, wicked, evil people. And the comment that was made, this is the last time, this is the first time it ever happened, it's the last time it ever happened. Bull crap. We know better. We know better. It's happening right now and we know it. Why would they stop? The only way they stop is if somebody makes them stop. They don't stop. They don't stop unless they're forced to stop. What about Jeffrey Epstein? What was he doing in his New Mexico property? He was going to breed a bunch of clones of himself. Do you see the connection to the trafficking, to the experiments, to the genetic obsessions? Many of you have seen the film that I made starting 8 years ago. Man, I can't believe it's been that long. Detestable. This is the movie. You can find it on the website if anybody wants it. You can watch it digitally as well. And the story of Kim. I went to Canada to interview Kim, and she told her story about what happened to her and the sleep deprivation and the hot tanks and the cold tanks and the torture and what they did to her mom. Wow. Kim's story is so compelling. So many people, I don't know if you have an Amazon account or not, but if you want to go and I'm looking for good reviews, but if you want to give an honest review of what you think of the credibility of the people in this movie, that would be awesome. Um, yeah, agree. Sounds like X-Men comic book or some old 70s sci-fi novel. Kind of crazy how Marvel, when we look at like stories like Wolverine and the experiments that were done on them because these guys were mutants, right? And they had these abilities. It's kind of crazy how accurate they are. I remember when I learned about Captain America and they called him the first super soldier. Crazy, crazy. So anyway, guys, yeah, the story of Kim is here in Detestable. So many of you, the listeners of this show, have your own stories, testimonies of being in sterile labs. Okay, what about Dr. Green? What about, there's also the testimonies. I put the clips in this film of the people testifying before it was some committee, the mind control committee, or they were torturing these people in America. In America. Is it still going on? I have absolutely no proof, but I very boldly say, yes, it is absolutely going on still because they don't stop. They don't stop. They might be wealthy. They might have power. They might have military power, but they cannot get away from divine justice, and they will have to answer before the great white throne judgment one day. And if they show up there without the protection of Jesus Christ, they will get justice. And just like Russ used to do, it's my job to say, hey, there is repentance for you. If you are some psycho Nazi doctor, I say that with as much compassion as I can muster up. Believe it or not, there is hope for you. Not likely that you would ever turn, okay? Not likely, because when you go as far as harming children, that's kind of like the point of no return. It's hard to get back from there, but it's not impossible. So I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't say repent and turn, and then give us all the information. By the way, you need to turn all these guys in. You need to turn these people in. Folks, this is what we know about. What's happening that we don't know about? What else do we know about? We know the babies are being killed, systematically being killed in America. Arms and legs and heads ripped off and brains sucked out. No apologies for the graphic explanation of reality. It's happening. It's the most obvious thing that we can talk about. So let me ask you again, to join hands with us in this campaign, No More Dead Babies. Okay. The title of the campaign makes a statement that babies are being killed and we don't want them to be killed any longer. And it goes beyond any kind of a political movement. It's it's saying no more. No more. We don't want babies to be killed anymore. We're asking you to join us in pushing this message out there. We think your neighbors need to see this message. We think the politicians, we think everybody needs to see this message, and people need to know that Mr. and Mrs. America are tired of babies being killed. It doesn't matter how they were conceived. It's not okay to kill babies. NoMoreDeadBabies.com is the website. You can get a free shirt, but this is not about free shirts. We're just trying to motivate people. We're trying to get momentum and start this campaign. And we want tens of thousands and, as Russ would say, millions, 10 million fierce. Man. What if Russ's prayer is answered in connection with this campaign? 10 million fierce soldiers of the army of the Lord Jesus Christ saying, no more dead babies. It's directly connected to the gospel. Fierce people that are going to be bold and not care what their neighbors think or not care what somebody at the grocery store thinks. And not only involved in helping us promote a message of life and stopping murder, but praying that God would send his angels to save life, to stop murder, praying that God would embolden us to overcome the fear of being awkward or the fear of losing a relationship, to doing the right thing. No More Dead Babies is the website. You guys can check that out. You can get involved. We're not asking you to just get a free t-shirt. We're asking you to join us in prayer, intercessory prayer, praying for what's happening in your state. We passed an amendment in the state of Ohio that makes it okay. I don't like saying the word legal because it's not legal to kill humans, but it makes it okay to kill babies all the way up, all through 9 months of pregnancy for any reason whatsoever. And if it's not in your state yet, it's coming to your state. There's 10 other states. Yes, Roe was overturned, but we've been losing every battle since then. So this is an opportunity to take the battle to you, to your home, to your family, to your church. These are the things that we know about. God, use us to minister to these people that have been experimented on. Use us to help heal these people, to pray for these people, to find these people, to lead these people to Jesus, and use us to save babies. Lord, put us in front of somebody that could be thinking about getting an abortion. Man, we have a new baby that's going to be here in less than 2 months in our family. And this baby has no clue how it is loved. This baby is minding its own business, doing its thing inside its mother's womb, swimming around. I saw a super cool video. Actually, I put it on my Facebook today, like all of the activities that babies do um, when they're in their mother's womb. And they grab the umbilical cord and they exercise and they suck their thumb and just stuff they do every day. And they get bored and start, as Bill Cosby would say, start punching the wall. This baby has no clue how it's loved. But so many babies are conceived and then basically hated and ripped apart, beheaded. We don't even do that to rapists. We don't even do that to men on death row in prison who have committed heinous crimes. Folks, we want you to be bold. This is an opportunity to share the gospel. Don't let what happened in states like Ohio be our defeat. Let it be our victory. Let it be our revival call where we say, you know what? We lost this. We admit that we lost this. But now, God, bring revival to our churches. Use us. I believe with the power of God that we can have less abortion under a state amendment where it says it's okay to kill babies than we did before. I believe that we can shut down these abortion clinics one by one by repentance and prayer and spiritual warfare. Spiritual warfare by praying, by developing programs that are going to help mothers, by spreading the message that these are babies being killed. And if you're older and wiser and you think I'm crazy and you know better than I do and you think, "Oh, Tom, this is no way this is going to work. You're just dreaming. You're inexperienced. These things don't work." Hey, don't ruin it for me, will you? Let me be crazy. I'm crazy enough to believe that the Bible is true and that God can do miracles. Let's do it together. Let's do it together. Folks, I want to hear your testimony, your story. Maybe you know of something, okay? Um, of a mind control situation, of experiments on human beings, um, of things that maybe were done in schools, elementary schools, of weird stories. Maybe you don't want to give all the details, but you can identify with this. We appreciate the comments, and we want conversation to take place in the comments below. And hey, I love everybody in the chat. So cool to see everybody, and it just means the world that you guys come and hang out with us. So, folks, what do you know? What do you know? Send us the link. You can send us email at throughtheblack.connect@outlook.com. And you can getting connected to us on our website. Don't forget, yeah, and there it is. One more time, throughtheblack.connect@outlook.com. And yeah, we're interested. We have a lot of books on this subject, but I didn't know about this book until 2 years ago, and it was very expensive when I bought it, actually. But it was man, this is it's almost like an antique. And this is something that Russ never told me about, was this story. So very, very important, very, very credible, by the way, powerful book. As I'm reading this, I know so many stories like it. So anyway, guys, we want to hear from you. We want to know what are your testimonies, or do you know of testimonies of people out there? We're interested. So guys, next week we're going to be back with Greg Reed on Tuesday night. So looking forward to hanging out with him, and we got some other stuff coming up for you, folks. We covet your prayers. Thank you for praying for us. We don't take that lightly, and I don't take it lightly asking you to pray for us. Okay, because I know that it can be a burden to pray for people. But if you just mention my name before the throne of grace just for 30 seconds, um, I appreciate it so much. We need your prayers because we're going into uncharted territory this year, and we want to do more. And the enemy's not going to like it, and he's going to come after every just crack and try to exploit that he can. And just again, appreciate you guys, love you guys, and we'll see you next time. Okay, bye.